So I'm Liz Gaines. I'm an editor with Recode. And Jason Johnson couldn't be here. He's sick today. But luckily, we have Yves Behar, who has designed a whole bunch of different products that you may be using. Specifically, we're going to talk a bit about the smart home and where Yves and Jason have made a very slick-looking lock for your front door, the August Smart Lock, which they're just starting to sell most recently. So I wonder if you could walk us into why you think the lock was the good place to start.
Well, I've been involved with many IoTs, specifically wearables, probably for 7 or 8 years, and then we obviously have a way to sort of collect data on the body. So the world of IoTs on the body is something that we just.
You have 2 Jawbones on.
Well, I'm always testing different and new versions. So.
Yeah.
So we've done.
Your right hand has more steps than your left.
It's about the same, actually. That's what I'm trying to figure out. So with a lot of that experience under our belts, I felt the time was about right to move into the home and to start really exploring what these technologies can do in the home. And the barrier of entry, is I think really high into the house, and the main reason is that technology has been just really difficult to use. The experience is usually enjoyed only by the person who installs the product, who puts it in, but the rest of the family usually hates it. Right. And so, but in the home, you really, in order to be attainable, in order to be something that gets widely used, you really need to have a completely different approach. I would say a non-tech approach is essential. And as technologies such as Bluetooth LE were becoming readily available and just a lot easier for people to work with and to use, I felt that this was the perfect kind of experience we could create for your front door.
But why the front door and not somewhere else in the house?
Well, there's many areas of the house we've been interested in. I've worked, for example, with a company called Eden on a garden sensor. So that's kind of just outside of the house. But I personally feel that in order for the smart home to really start to do more than just kind of give you feedback about what's going on, about the temperature, or about the air in your house, in order for technology to really start enabling all these new services, all these new things that you want to happen around your home, whether it's delivery of packages, whether it's delivery of things that have to go into specific places in your home, whether it's letting certain people in at certain times. For all that to happen, you really need to get control of the door. Mm-hmm. The door is the most difficult problem, but I like to think about the most difficult problem as the perfect entry point.
Why is it the most difficult? Just because it's high stakes?
It's high stakes. It's quite emotional. But it's also the only product I've worked on that is both, that has sort of a mechanical, that has to operate mechanically speaking. It has to unlock your door. It has to sort of turn, the hardware from a lock to an unlocked position.
Rather than turning a light on or off.
Rather than just an electronic box that turns your light on or monitors movement. This is an active product. So there's motors, there is sensors that can really, that are really sort of complex. Then there's a whole sort of safety, security side of things. And so, that is a very sort of difficult problem to solve. But I love those because there's a lot less people, a lot less noise until you've made that readily available and easy to use for everyone.
But it seems like a lot of other people kind of came to that same conclusion, right? So, walking around at CES this year, there was maybe 8 different smart door locks. Why is August better, or what specifically about it do you think is more interesting?
So we've made a number of decisions early on at August with Jason, really around the product features. Where, where do we want it to reside as a product in, in people's homes? What we wanted, it wasn't like a full replacement type of approach. Most products you see out there basically require you to change the door or change all of the hardware, and require professional installation. There's kind of regulations for installation of hardware on doors. What we thought would be a much better opportunity would be to look at a product that can be simply adapted to the hardware you already have. And so it becomes a lot easier for people to say, well, I still like my door handle, I still like my keys. They can use everything the way it is. We're not changing the look, we're not changing the operation of their door. We're just adding essentially what we usually describe as a little robot on the inside of the door that locks and unlocks and gives you status and lets the right people in. And so this was a very important decision. It's quite hard because when you have a retrofit product like this, you have to find ways for it to adapt to a vast majority of the door locks out there. But once...
Is there a lot of variety in door locks?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of different brands. There's a lot of different types of...
But they all kind of look the same, right?
Yeah, they kind of, we have a few adapters, but it's easy enough at installation that we get a lot of people telling us it takes them under 10 minutes, under 15 minutes for installation. But the other important decision that we made was, let's do something that is discreet in every way, physically discreet. So as I come to my front door, I don't even know that the product is there. I can't even see it. Again, rather than putting something on the outside of your door that broadcasts to the world that, right. Oh, I have this special door lock. On the inside, everything we did was also very discreet. A beautiful piece of hardware that is machined out of aluminum, materials that people are really expecting, quality materials that people, want to have as hardware. And the application is very discreet as well, meaning you don't even have to touch, your phone. You don't have to touch your, you don't have to touch the lock with your hands. You don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And I think that's key for experiences in the home. If you keep it really that simple, and you remove, the need for new behavior to be, to be introduced into a consumer's life. And if you remove complexity out of people's lives, then they're likely to kind of prefer your offering. And this is what makes August currently, I think, the leader in the space.
Are you a leader by sales? I mean, you only just came out, right? How
well, like all the other startups, we don't really talk about sales, but
well, give some details. So, how much does it cost?
So it costs $249.
And when did it go on sale?
It launched in October.
Mm-hmm. And where is it available?
It's available at Apple stores and online. Currently the order levels and installation level and satisfaction levels is quite high. And the number of...
if I were to go order it today, could I get it soon, or are you sold out?
You're probably better off walking into an Apple store if you want to get it really quick. We're a little bit lagging on the online orders.
One thing I'm really curious about is, do you feel like when you're designing a product like this, you can assume that everyone has a smartphone out there? When you're designing a smart object that ties into someone's kind of remote control in their pocket, I think that in the US at least, smartphone adoption or penetration among all mobile phones is like 65% or something like that. Is that enough?
I think it's gotten higher. I don't have the number, but it's quite high. And that's exactly the reason why we wanted this product to be not to be a full replacement, because that means you can still use your key. If you've given a key to grandma, and she can still use that exact same key, and I think that's been very important. But we do feel that if you look at the curves and if you look at the predictions for smartphone adoption and use, we're getting very, very close to,
It's enough. You feel
it's plenty, yeah.
Okay. Is August just a lock company, or are you also trying to design other products in the home?
So the reason why it's called August is because we do want it to be more than about locks, but I do think that the most difficult, smartest sort of experience to handle right now is the front door. So this is what we're focusing right now, and
but you do
trying to be the very
other
best
things.
at that.
You're saying you do expect to do other things.
Yeah, I do expect that.
When would that be?
Sometimes in the next couple of years. I don't have like anything to share here, but I think there's a lot of, if you combine the sort of power of the door with other things, other types of services, I think that's where you get the kind of direction that we're going to go into.
What kind of customers are you seeing for these things? Are they often people who are investigating a whole bunch of different connected, investing in a whole bunch of different connected home products and kind of tying them all together? And because once you get to that level, you kind of have to decide, which is your primary device and which is your platform, and how are you going to hook them up, and how will they interact, and or are you getting kind of like the first-time buyers dipping their toe in?
People don't think about platforms. They think about what is going to make my life easier, what is going to make this product really sort of work for my needs, and that's where they start. And that's why we chose not to build a beautiful product and a very simple experience. That said, we have an API, and we're working with different partners on making the product work across a lot of different places. So I think naturally, once people have a good experience, and I think it's very important, that we create a good experience for the category, not just for August, but for everyone in the category. People start adding different elements to their lives.
So, but if you were to take the average August buyer, how many other smart home devices do you think they have?
I think we're clearly either the first or second kind of device, smart device, IoT in the house. There's a lot of people who have, very sort of simple primary needs. How do I let the dog walker in? How do I let, people coming to my home and, providing with services on a regular basis? There's also people who have, needs like me, which is, I'm not good with keys. This is a human trait. A lot of us, forgetfulness, and it seems just like another thing to have to think about. And so we have a lot of people who simply feel that this is a fail-safe option for them. They can always get back in. They can always let somebody into their home.
Okay. So for you personally, how are you thinking about August across all the different projects that you're doing? So as I understand it, there's been a few big changes for you. One is that you're a co-founder at August rather than kind of a design partner. And the other is that you sold a majority share of your design firm. So it seems like it's been a kind of a big year, and why are you reorienting yourself that way?
It's been a big year, but at the same time, the reason why I get up in the morning is to create great products, great user experiences across hardware and across digital experiences. And that's what I'm probably always going to be doing. That said, being a co-founder is something that I've, that is sort of a logical step, for me to be a part of. I mean, I've been.
So you mean to upgrade the level of involvement?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been through this cycle. I've been through, the cycle of going from seed idea to, growing and putting something in the marketplace. That, what I'm bringing and my team is bringing is of course, the design and the brand and the experience part, but we also have all that other experience, all that other knowledge of, how to make something, really, really go. So we're becoming, I think people like us are becoming much more of an essential part of any new business. Because if you're just launching a technology and you're just thinking about doing a smart lock and as you said, there's a few others out there. Unless you're focusing on building a real consumer company, if you're only thinking about the technology part, you're probably not going to be successful today. So design is becoming an essential element in creating successful companies.
And does that extend to you personally, that you feel like you want to focus more?
I mean, that's been my passion, for forever. We've done partnerships with about 30 different companies over time, and this notion of venture design, which is to implicate yourself deeply, embed yourself deeply into a company and help build it, is something that we have. I've done since for 12 years now. The first one was with Jawbone, with whom I'm still deeply involved, obviously.
Right. So why did you sell a big part of your company?
I think for me, this kind of venture design approach, the design as partner in enterprises and new enterprises, is something that we've been very successful with in the U.S. But it's not a model that we have been able to export. And our particular partners are Blue Focus, which is the largest public relations and marketing agency in China. And the opportunity to start exporting that model of design-led new technology, new startups in general, is something that I'm quite excited about. So we're working on a couple of unique startups in China. We're also working with some startups now in Europe, and it's a good way for us to move this model forward, which I think is a game changer, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, for me it seems like kind of an interesting fit to go with a public relations and marketing company, but you're saying that the angle is really that you get to go global.
Absolutely, yeah. And what's been fascinating for me is some of the projects that we're doing. Everybody wants a way to get in and out of their home, right? In the U.S., in Europe, and in China. But the behaviors are a little bit different. So what's interesting is we're building some companies overseas, which probably they wouldn't be that successful or that in the U.S. But there's some behaviors, some needs, both in technology and in sort of consumer products.
Like what?
I can't say exactly, but if you think that
about
culturally,
the users, like culturally, how are they different?
well, there's cultural, there's a lot of cultural differences. How you treat your home, how you the kinds of services you get to your house, how you deal with families, for example. Obviously, in the U.S., the way you raise a family is a little bit different from the way you raise a family in China. There's more help from older generations, for example, in China, and that really makes us sort of cater or sort of dial the products differently depending on which market they first go to.
So when will those products be coming out?
We're hoping 2015 we'll be able to show the first design venture that would be overseas.
But it would similarly be a partnership with an outside company, or would you be making those yourselves? No,
it would be a partnership. Those, I think, just the way I love working with Jason and the team at August, or just the way, we're doing with Jawbone. I think this kind of partnership of, mixing, design and kind of building a business, really sort of lends itself well for a partnership model, which is don't try to build something entirely by yourself. Just partner with the best people possible who can build it with you.
Okay. What are the best examples that you could think of those ideas spreading outside of your work yourself and to other people, other companies, other success stories of that integrated design ethic?
So I mean, we've obviously seen a lot of companies starting to take design more seriously. If I go back in time, if I think about the 90s, which is when I started practicing here in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, design really was seen as an afterthought. And today, it's been a 360-degree kind kind of reversal of that. People are really looking for design to often lead, what we call experience, on the digital side and on the hardware side as well. And so a lot of companies are trying to do that. I think, though, but what the position you have to put yourself in as a founder of a startup is very unusual and still pretty rare when it comes to sort of bringing a design partner. Most companies still, think that, I get these emails once in a while, which is like, do you know a good student, who can help us with our design,
Meaning
problems?
a cheap person.
Yes, they still think, of design as in, anybody can probably solve that for you. Anyone can just come in, anybody who knows how to draw or who calls themselves this kind of designer or that kind of designer can probably solve it. But fundamentally, design is about partnering with someone, whether it's Steve Jobs, with the Apple design team and Johnny Ive, whether it's Herman Miller with Charles Eames, George Nelson, back in the 50s and 60s, whether it's IBM with Richard Sapper. The successful partnerships are true partnerships. Mm-hmm. They last forever. They're collaborations of equal. And I think that's for a lot of companies, that's a hard thing to do. It's still, culturally, too much for them.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Yves.
Thank you.